Hello, welcome guys to one more full flap live stream in the newly updated iFly 737 MAX8. Wasn't anticipating streaming today. Had the day off. Matter of fact, almost tried to pick up an overtime trip, and then but I saw the update drop for the iFly and decided to stay home and do a quick stream. So. Here we are in the Alaska Airlines livery in the version 1.0 of the iFly 737, and we'll be taking it from Salt Lake City up to Seattle with live weather on iVeo Premium. So should be a fun flight. The route is in the Discord, but it's basically the Seagull departure out of Salt Lake, and then I believe it's the Chin's arrival into Seattle. So. Gus, welcome. Yep, we'll be on iVeo Premium today. We're already logged in. No controllers, I don't think, en route for us. It'll be a lot of ATC, but we are on iVeo so that you guys can follow along. So, Lauren, catering's looking mighty tropical for Salt Lake. Yeah, it's part of the Hawaiian merger that Alaska just got done with. So, they got the airline gourmet catering trucks. Got the fuel truck hooked up there, so yeah, looking forward to this flight and seeing if the iFly has kind of gotten through some of its initial teething problems and is more of a contender to compete with BMDG. So, all right, walking in the airplane, we'll take a look here. Got the cockpit door. We'll pop that open. So we came in, got the catering, that all looks good. Airplane's empty. Check the observer oxygen mask. We'll come in here, we'll throw the battery on. And okay, well, let's see, we'll go battery. Still somehow have a 31 volt battery. I don't know how they manage that. So that looks fine. Landing gear lights are down. We got 6 landing lights. Engine bleed or landing gear lights, engine bleeds are on. The standby power is not on. The bus transfer switch is in normal. The flaps are up. No mechanical gauge to check in the Max yet. And then we got the alternate flaps are closed and off. We can go ahead and put the ground power on the bus. That's looking good. And we can get the screens all fired up. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and jump outside. Take a look at the external model. We did a full walk around of the PMDG. I don't think that we did that with the iFly, so I figure now's as good a time as any to give the iFly a walk around. So we'll slow the camera down here and slow the rotation speed down as well. And we'll go ahead and give the iFly a walk around. So we would come down here and kind of start our walk around. That rotation speed's not going to work. Got to speed it up a little more than that. Let's try about 10. There we go. Okay. So yeah, this is where we would start the walk around on the 7.3 family. I don't know if it's present on the Max, but on the NG you've got a jack point here that's got eight kind of blank fastener holes. So if you're not expecting it, it kind of gets your attention. We got the total air temperature probe there. Modeling looks pretty good. The nose gear is new in the Max, and we can see that it's significantly taller than it is on the NG. So it looks like they've done a pretty good job modeling that. We've got some strut extension there. Got the scissor link, so that looks pretty good. Coming around here, we got the nose wheel well. Take a look up in there. There's some pretty good modeling that they've done. We've got the snubber pads that the nose gear backs up on, so that's pretty good. The E&E bay, the forward E&E bay rather, of the Max is significantly smaller than it is on the NG, because in order to house that longer nose landing gear in the retracted position, the E&E bay was actually shortened, so they had to move some equipment that was up here back to the aft equipment bays, kind of rearrange some of that. But that looks like it's pretty well modeled. You can open the radome, but I didn't, because I've actually never come across a jet that that's had the radome open. But diabetic light, yeah, the PMDG does have the jack point. It's just a texture, but it is there, yeah. Do the NG come with inflator kits, or did they splurge for the full-size spares? Yeah, dude. We've got radial nose tires now, so you do have to check that the nose tires on both sides are the same type. But we've got pitot probes. Got the primary and the alternate pitot probes, and we've got the angle of attack gauge there, and then we've got the external power door. Right here looks pretty good, so that's pretty good modeling. Got that. We'll come down here. This is something that I check. My biggest fear is tape over these static ports in the pitot tubes. So I actually check the static ports in the pitot tubes pretty closely when I'm doing my walk around. Just there have been so many mishaps because these things have been taped over, and the crew didn't notice it. So I check those on each and every walk around. We're gonna jump over the baggage loader. Here we got the wing light, making sure that that's on. The NG has typically halogen landing lights here. They're LED on the Max and on the later NGs, which remove the it actually removes the under fuselage landing light right here. So the Max and the later NGs don't have that, and the landing lights are all, and the runway turnoff lights are all in the wing root. Significantly improved performance. The LED lights are much better. However, a downside is that they don't produce nearly as much heat as the halogen lights did, and so if you do pick up icing, this area of the wing can get ice. You can actually get ice over your landing lights, whereas in the halogens, the heat produced by the actual lights themselves kept the lenses clear. So just kind of an unintended consequence of having the LEDs. The Kruger flap, pretty well modeled here. In the real world, I hear that they can droop. I've never actually seen one droop. They're they're pretty. They're not like a 727, but if they were, you do want to make sure that you don't ever stick your fingers up in here, because if somebody had applied hydraulic power, you could lose a finger. Checking the ram air doors, full open on the ground, as well as with the flaps extended. But they have removed the light for this. So in the NG, there's a light that says ram door full open when these are full open, but in the NG, that light is gone. So it was really just kind of a curiosity of a light, because there was no aircrew action associated with the lights. Got our CFM Leap 1B engine. This is kind of the whole reason behind the MAX series, right? It was a new, more efficient engine. You've got these kind of serrated nacelle edges. So you'd come in here, look at the back. This is typically, every time I found a bird strike on an engine, it's been right here, because you'll see the blood and kind of spatter here. A lot of times when you look from the front, you can't see any evidence of a bird strike. So, but yeah, this is where you're looking for just evidence of a bird strike, anything like that. And then you're just looking down here at these stripes, and these just ensure that the reverser is closed, that these stripes kind of line up there. So, V1, any bullet holes under that wing? We're checking, man. We're checking. Dude, speaking of, did you fly into Haiti today or something? I don't know. All right, we got checking the bypass section there. That looks good. The modeling, I got to say, the modeling on this is pretty good. Does anybody remember from our first stream what these holes are in the slat? Hit me up in chat if you remember what those holes are for. When are you taking off? Should be taking off here in about 30 minutes or so. Just doing a quick walk around. Ooh, all right. Well, we have a catering truck that hit the winglet, so that might delay our takeoff a little bit. Got to hit a bigger bird. Yeah, dude. I took a pretty massive one in a T-45 one time and hit the wing, but yeah, in the airliners, it's all been super small stuff. All right, looking at the bottom of the wing here. Modeling looks pretty good. Nothing too crazy here, but the model looks really nice. From the outside, I don't think they changed anything necessarily, but we do have the brake wear indicators right there. And then we'll take a look under the fuselage here. It does not have the blown tire, the fuse plug, if you blow a tire. But we'll come in the wheel well, and you do check this on every pre-flight in the 7.3, because there are a lot of cables and things that can be damaged by debris and blown tires. So you just check this, check your hydraulic accumulators, make sure all the cables are running on the pulleys here, and then also checking this is the inert gas generator for the fuel tank. So it's got a little green light on it that says operational, and this is what purges oxygen out of the center fuel tank, so you don't have a TWA 800 type situation. And then your push rods for your flaps in here as well. So we'll duck out of here. Alright, and looking around the aft fuselage, the MAX got new flush door hinges right here, so the NG's protrude down in the airstream. The MAX got new flush door handles. And then also the MAX got a brand new APU inlet with a flush fitting door that reduces drag quite a bit. So just checking to make sure that that's closed. These are the pitot tubes for the rudder feel system. So you want to make sure that those are in good condition. The stabilizer is same as the NG, no changes there. The APU exhaust is different. The blunt kind of end of the fuselage is gone, and now you have this more shapely aerodynamic APU outlet. Also, there's only one exhaust here, so the classics only had an APU exhaust. The NGs, if you look, they actually have two. They've got an APU, and then they've got an inlet above it called an eductor, which it uses the kind of Bernoulli principle, the exhaust coming out of the APU to ingest air in to cool the APU and run air through the oil cooler. So they've obviously gone away from that, and now oil cooler air is taken in through the APU inlet door. But overall, quite a lot of drag savings in this area of the airplane with the MAX. Newer NGs are coming out with strakes and things to try and smooth out the airflow around the tail, because there's quite a lot of improvement aerodynamically to be had at this part of the fuselage on the 7.3. Take a look and make sure we didn't get a tail strike on the last flight. That would be evidenced by bare metal here. This tail skid cartridge would be pushed up into the red, and then also any damage on the bottom of the fuselage. It's a pretty good model, really. I'm pretty impressed by iFly's modeling. Overall, it does look very nice. Fun fact: the trailing edge of the flap canoe can be MEL'd. I actually had one that was MEL'd, and it kind of caught me by surprise when I noticed it on the walk around. But that can be MEL'd for us. Looking around here, we got a new winglet on the NG on the MAX compared to the NG. It's called the Advanced Technology Winglet. Sort of mirrors the split scimitar, and that has an upward and a downward protruding part. I think it's a pretty good looking winglet, to be honest with you. I'm generally not a fan of wingtip devices on the 7.3, but I think that one looks pretty good. Turk, welcome, man. Yeah, dude. I'm trying to be fair. It's there's a lot of good things about this airplane. We'll see how the patch did updating the systems, but dude, I really, really do hope that they unseat PMDG, because we need new 737 in the sim. All right, walk around is complete. We'll jump back up into the cockpit here, and we'll start run the overhead flow. So we got the LED lights are good. Elevator jam assist is off. We'll get the IRSs spinning up. That's going to take 9 minutes. I probably should have had that going while we were doing the walk around. Got the observer audio panel is set. All the engine panel here looks good with no lights. These are different between the NG and the MAX. I can't tell you exactly what these reverser air ground lights and reverser command lights are, because we don't have them in the NG. But that would be part of the differences course that you'd go through. The crew oxygen, want to make sure you have above 1,000. The guard is down, so it's in normal. Broadband, ours looks different than that, but you turn that on for the flight recorder. Looks like they fixed that switch, so it tests correctly now. And then we'll test the Mach airspeed warning, left and right, and the stall warning, left and right. Hey Jay, welcome, dude. Change back to Imperial. I did. I've gone through and I think I've set everything up correctly. So we'll see if that's the case. But jump in the seat, check the oxygen, check individual approach lights here, our auto throttle and autopilot condition lights. I do notice that my the way I interface with the airplane as far as mouse clicks is still the other style, but I think that's an option in the manager that I needed to swap, and I didn't. So, okay. Mailbox, welcome, dude. Welcome aboard. Okay, looking at the FMS, the ident page, this looks correct. So 737-8, the dot 1 indicates whether it's a 1-position or 2-position tail skid. So decimal 1 would be a single position tail skid. Decimal 2 would be the 2-position tail skid. That's part of the short field performance package, which this airplane does not have. So that looks correct. 28K engines, right. Looks like the AirAx out of date. I didn't update that. That's fine. 14.1. Okay, so we'll type KSLC in as the reference airport, and then we'll go next page, get GPS position, and put that in for the IRS position. For the route, I wasn't sure how to get the airplane to auto-populate, so we're going to go Salt Lake to Seattle, and we're going as Alaska Airlines 1422. Taking off out of Salt Lake. I think they were going north in Salt Lake, so we'll plan on taking off on runway 34 left. And we'll go ahead and jump in here. Departures and arrivals, departing runway 34 left via the Seagull. and I believe we're doing the Twin Falls transition here. We'll take a look on SimBrief. Sorry guys, I don't have SimBrief pulled up for you, but the PDF is showing Seagull 1 Twin Falls direct to Pendleton. So we'll go Seagull 1 Twin Falls, and then this entire route is actually 2 SIDS and stars. So we'll do the ILS 16 right to Cibucks, and then the Chins 5 from Pendleton, and then we'll activate and execute that. So Seagull 1 to Twin Falls. We'll go to legs page and close that discontinuity. So Pendleton comes up, execute. So the route page, Salt Lake City to Seattle, Alaska 1422, taking off at 34 left. Seagull 1, Twin Falls, direct to Pendleton for the Chins 5. And then Civics for the ILS. That looks good. All right. Let's see. Load and fuel is still in the tablet. They haven't done anything. Well, let me rephrase. The tablet is still the old Boeing style tablet. So you still need to kind of fight your way through this thing. But if we set payload. No, that's not what I wanted to do. We're going to take 178 people. Cargo is going to be 10,000 pounds of cargo, so we'll put 5,000 in each bin. I really wish you could just put 0 fuel weight in here, or frankly I wish it was like the Phoenix where you could just pull it off a SimBrief, but it is what it is. And for block fuel we have 14.4 required, so we'll go total fuel 14.4. Alright, that's in there, and we'll go set payload. So that gives us a 0 fuel weight of 144 nothing, which is more or less what SimBrief said. We'll take 4,000 pounds of payload out, so we'll go 3,000 in each bin. There we go. So we'll go 3,000 in each bin, 0 fuel weight of 140, takeoff weight of 154. That looks good. It is all set, and we should have our fuel loaded. Why did that not load? Set fuel. There we go. 14.4. And so our 0 fuel weight should auto-populate 140.2. There it is. All right. Cool. So that is taken care of. We do not have it. Let's see. Do we have an alternate? Doesn't. Yeah, it looks like we've got an alternate of Portland. So it's showing reserve fuel of 4.4, which that seems a little low. So we'll go. We'll just throw that on there. Let's see who's texting me here. All right. Let's see. So we got that. We got cost index is going to be 5, and our cruise altitude is going to be 380. All right. So we got that all in there. Execute. Let me catch up on the chat here. Let's see, Gus. Oh man, you woke up under the weather, dude, and you're not improved. I'm sorry about that, dude. Hopefully you get better so that you can come fly with us on the next one. Let's see. Let's see, AJ. Sim menu, panel style, autopilot page 2 for auto throttle lock. Okay, I did that. So hopefully it should be good. Although I don't have niche hardware, so I didn't have any problems with the auto throttle lock as it was previously implemented. So, so we should be good. But hey, V1, your niche hardware, it's good. It should be all set now. So, Water, you a real pilot? I am. Who do I work for? Nice. Can you send me their SOPs and checklists? Wow, you ignoring me? How rude. Yeah, dude. I got nothing, man. Welcome. I'm surprised you're around. I thought you were going to be all laid up from your night out yesterday. V1, you're spamming my phone and the chat box, dude. Just there's 20 other people here, man. Read the room. All right, here we go. Cruise wins. That'll all upload. I wonder if you can do a wind uplink from this yet. We'll take a look. The ISA deviation Trying to get that off at sim brief. You know what, I'm not worried about that. It looks like it's +9, so we'll go 9 on ISODEV. Execute that. Temperature looks fine, and then cruise wind should populate when we do the wind uplink. So if we go legs, route data, wind request, we'll see if that pulls the pulls the winds up. It looks like it should be working. That's what the FMS looks like. Invalid cruise wind uplink. Okay, I'm not going to blame that on iFly. I think that's just me not knowing how to set a flight up in the iFly. But anyway, the box is done for now, so we'll go up to the overhead. The other pilot would obviously be checking my work there in the box, and in the meantime, we'll go up to the overhead panel and run the pre-flight flow up here. So. Flight control switches, make sure that they're all down and guarded. Yaw damper comes on. Alternate flaps are off. Nav display switches are all normal and auto for the fuel. Making sure that all the valves are closed, which they are. Crossfeed's closed. Fuel panel is set. Put this to APU generator because notice on the MAX there's no APU gauge. They got rid of the APU EGT gauge, which is sort of the only indication that the APU is running outside of the blue light here. So, talking to people who've flown the MAX, they say it's difficult to tell if the APU is on now that that gauge is gone. So, what we do in the NG and what you can also do in the MAX is just flip this to APU gen and check your volts, which will be operating if the APU is on. So. Emergency exit lights come on, seatbelt signs, we'll get the window heats on, probes stay off, engine anti-ice, hide pumps can stay off for now, test the CVR, that looks good, trim air is on, we got packs are off, isolation valves open, bleeds off, engine bleeds are on. We are going up to 380. Water, do you know how to set up winds so that I can get winds? And then Seattle's at 450 feet. So we'll set that, make sure the pressurization mode selector is automatic. These should have come off after the walk around. It's a good sim because I forget those in real life all the time. That'll go, position lights will go to steady, logo lights will go to on. Right igniters for the first flight of the day, and lights are set. All right, we'll come down here, we'll get the lights test. Get that cooking. Check all the lights. Now this is something that iFly models better than PMDG in that so you check all the lights with the lights test, but then also each individual bulb in the cockpit can be pressed to test, and you can't do that in the PMDG. But you can push every light and check it in the iFly, which is pretty cool. Flight director. The FO, the flying pilots, comes on first, makes it the master. Other one comes up. We'll set up the MCP here in a second, but we'll put 9100 in because that's what they usually clear us to. And then we'll, actually it's a heading out of Salt Lake, so we'll leave that off. Bank angle goes to 30 degrees. Okay, looks like the IRSs are aligned. The attitude indicator is, the standby attitudes indicator is all spooled up. Another max difference here to landing gear. It's Airbus style, just up and down. No off position there on the gear. We'll reset the fuel flow. Auto brakes come to RTO. We'll get some brake pressure by running the B pump. There it goes. And I'll got the jip whiz
Glide
test.
slope. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
All right.
Terrain. Terrain.
Never. The
Pull
boss says
up.
I can't drink liquid courage.
Obstacle.
No. Really?
Obstacle.
I didn't know you didn't
up.
drink, dude. Good for you.
Sink rate. Pull up.
No super chats yet.
Don't sink. Too low.
Working
Terrain.
on that, but I want to get the quality of the streaming
Gear.
product a little higher
Too
before
low.
I
Flaps.
start doing super chats. So,
Glide slope. Bank angle.
maybe in
Bank
the future,
angle.
hopefully.
Approaching
It's
minimums.
supposed to have an ECAM like the 777 and the 78. Nah, dude, no
2500.
ICAS, Lauren,
1000.
on the 73.
500.
Big sticking point.
100.
I don't mind it, to be
50,
honest with you. I don't mind the
40,
lack of
30,
an ICAS, but
20,
a lot of people
10.
have an issue.
Wind shear.
I don't know how to set up the winds on the iFly
Too
either.
low.
I assume
Terrain.
it's something to do with sim brief.
Terrain.
But
Caution. Terrain. Terrain.
Yeah,
terrain.
sure.
Pull up. Caution. Obstacle.
AJ,
Caution,
yeah. So that's how you do it, but it doesn't
obstacle,
work in the iFly.
Pull up.
But I'm not willing to say it's the jet because it could very well be I just didn't download a file I needed to from SimBrief. So, so you know, could be just me not doing the flight setup correctly. Yeah, 7.3 push to test bulbs on everything. So I'm kind of surprised PMDG didn't model that, but bank angle check is much louder than you. Okay, well it's over now. In-game sounds are too loud. We'll bump those down a bit. How's that? All right. Keep me honest on the sounds, guys. That's one of the harder parts of streaming is getting all the volumes balanced. So, okay. Speed brake handle is down. We'll check the takeoff config warning. Make sure that works. Flaps are up. Trim. Last cruise should have set it to 5. All right. Parking brake is set. The cutoff switches are at cutoff. Stab trim cutoff switches. The MCAS switches are in normal. Check the squibs, and then we'll check the fault in op light. I hate the interaction on this thing. So fault in op, and then we should have 11 lights. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Had an overheat light. That looks good. Radios and transponder, we'll check the cargo test. That's all good. I have never seen this radar panel before. So that's different than the one that we have. Nav radios, we got 1080 set. That's fine. Not planning on coming back to Salt Lake. For auto ATC, let's see. We need, what do we set? 4172. So we'll set 41. 4172 in the squawk, and Altoff is fine. And then you would check the rudder and aileron trims there. Okay, that's good. Okay, last thing, we'll step through this. So you do a U shape on the FMS. So you start with the prog page, 624 air miles here, and just check that against your flight plan. SimBrief is saying we should do 621. That's close enough. 3 miles. That's you know, that's nothing. So VNAV pages, we'll step through these. Salt Lake always has you do 230 knots in the climb, so 230. That's not right. It should just replace what you had. So if I type in 230, it should have kept the Mach number. So we'll climb at 230 or 0.78 there, and then 250 and 10,000. And then to get rid of this, you just hit Econ. So so that's that. Oh, V1 yesterday trying to do the departure in the 321, and I couldn't figure out how to make the Airbus accelerate to 280 knots instead of econ speed. So maybe you should cover that in one of your next streams. Oh, we have ATC. Perfect. All right. Just wait till you boot one time and OBS resets all your audios after a Windows update. Dude, I'd be host. I would be absolutely host. Blackbird, welcome, dude. Dude, I don't have a camera, so I can't prove this, but I am definitely using your 737 throttles during the stream, and they are awesome. So, good stuff. If you're looking for a one-to-one reproduction of these throttles for a Honeycomb Bravo, hit Blackbird up. Lauren, I don't think the PMDG does. I think the PMDG does it correctly. Pull for speed passing 10. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so climb page is all set up. Then we'll step over to the cruise page, 0.78. That's fine, or 779. That's fine. And then we want to descend at 300 knots. So see if it does it. There it is. Did it that time. And then 240 below 10, that's correct. The Boeing gives itself a 10-knot buffer to not bust the 250 speed limit. We'll check the route. We looked at that already, and then we can go to the legs page, plan, and we can step through and make sure that everything looks correct. How do I scroll? There it is. Okay, that looks like it. All right, so we'll go back to map view. FMS setup is complete, and for takeoff data, we need to run that via SimBrief for this airplane. So I'm gonna throw that in here into SimBrief. We'll calculate it. We're not using we're just using kind of their standard setup there without the improved climb numbers. And so we'll go ahead and set those in the sim now too. So that's given flap 5 looks like TO 123. So we'll go N1 limit. We'll go we'll select TO 1 with a 23 D rate. With a 23 D rate, it automatically selects climb 1. We'll keep that. Takeoff is going to be flap 5. CG of 23.8 for a trim of 5.56. Love that number. And V2 is 150. So we'll set 150. We'll set V2 in the window there. We're taking off 344 heading up to 9,000 is what we've got cleared for. All right, trim coming back to 556. Pre-flight is set. All right, Lauren, thanks for doing 280. I have pause frequently try and argue with me when I say delete the speed out of Detroit. Yeah, trying to be a professional in the Airbus was killing me. So, yeah, Blackbird, we are at Salt Lake City, heading up to where are we going? Seattle, going up the Emerald State. Cool. All right, let's knock out a pre-flight checklist and we can get out of here. I feel like we spent a long time on the ground. We've got a huge change log that we need to go over once we get up in cruise. So, I got an ACARS. Do I need to call this guy on clearance? No, I don't, because I got an ACARS, right? So, ASA 1422, going to Seattle. Seagull 1, Twin Falls, Pendleton, Chins 5 to Seattle. That's what we put in there. 380 is our final, which we need to set up in there. It is. All right, that's set. Squawking 4172, which I think I've got in the box here. Yep, 4172. That looks good. Cleared Seagull 1 departure. Twin Falls transition maintained 230 until advised. Maintained 9,000. Departures on 135.5. So we'll put 135.5 in. And it's top-down control, so we'll call this person for push, taxi, all that kind of stuff. All right, we're all set. Kelpie, yo, you caught me live. Hey, dude, I know you've been trying for a while. Good to finally see you. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for joining in. If you don't mind hitting that like button for me, that really helps me out. But good to see you live. Diabetic Lad, when you have 556 ambitions and a 22 budget. Yeah, tell me about it, man. All right, pre-flight checklist. The interior and exterior inspections, those are complete. The circuit breakers have been checked. The nav and display switches are... Let's see. We'll jump in the captain's side because he's the one who's verifying all this. So nav and display switches are normal and auto. Passenger signs are on. The window heats are on. Engine bleed air switches are on. We'll get the APU fired up while we're doing this. Pressurization panel is set. The mode selector is an automatic. The mode control panel is set with the FO flying. Oxygen masks have been checked. The altimeters, Magic Bear RF key, is 2963. That's cross-checked. The flight nav instruments all checked good. It's a heading departure out of Salt Lake City. Warning and announce alerts have all been checked. The speed brake is down. The takeoff warning is checked and closed. Engine start levers are cut off. Stab trim cutout switches are normal. Fire warning's been checked. Radios and transponders are all set. Radar is off. Rudder and aileron trim are free and set to 0. Parking brake is set. Windows are closed and locked. Ooh, that's a cool thing about this is you can actually open the windows, unlike the PMDG, so that's pretty cool. Windows are closed and locked. The flight attendant and departure briefs are complete. The logbook's on board and the fuel required. We need 14.4, and on board is 14.4. The pre-flight check is complete. All right. Okay, so we're waiting on the APU. So typically you'd be able to see the EGT gauge. In this case, in the MAX, the only thing that you can see is the generator light and the available power up here. So we've got, there it is, 400 hertz, 115 volts, and we'll put the APU gen on the bus. And we can start getting the ground stuff pulled away, which I believe I go system page, ground support. Also, once the APU is on, we'll start a clock, and we need a 2-minute burn off before we get the air on the APU. So we'll disconnect the electric, we'll disconnect the air conditioning, we'll disconnect the fuel, all that. Get rid of all this stuff. My old critique, my standard critique with the iFly still stands. I think this tablet is very clunky compared to Phoenix or even the PMDG implementation of a tablet, but it's functional. It just, and I understand the desire to, you know, put something that looks representative of what would be on a flight deck, but I would be shocked if any MAX operator is using this tablet. But anyway, neither here nor there. Okay, all the ground equipment appears to be removed. The flight attendants have locked us in. No, they haven't. Now they have. And so we can do a pushback checklist. So, fuel, center tank is empty, so we'll put the wing tanks on, put the hide pumps on. Oh, looks like we have a door to close. Where do I do that? Doors. Close. There we go. All right, so pumps, doors, cockpit door, and the TCAS. I need that on transponder. 1-1 auto. Perfect. All right, the pushback check. Doors are closed. Hydraulic panel is set. Fuel panel is set. Flight deck door is closed, and the transponder is transponding. Here we go. Everyone ready for a pushback? Beacon's on. Brakes are released. We'll give them a call. And Salt Lake ramp, Alaska, 1422, push and start. All right, we'll call you back with Papa, Alaska, 1422. Okay. Well, it's top down. Shouldn't he be ramp? That doesn't make sense. Okay, let's see. So, ground support, push back, move the towing lever, install the bypass pin. We'll go 250 feet straight back. We'll turn the nose gear. Well, I want the nose to go right, so I want the nose gear to go left. We'll go 45 degrees. Start. All right, beacon's on, brakes released, we're clear to push. Back we go. ATC audio is not coming through. Oh boy. Yep, there's a slider for that. Okay, ATC audio should be coming through now. Ground, not ramp. Lauren, it's top down though, right? Like, so I thought that if an ATC controller was on approach, then they'd be everything below them, right? So tower, ground, ramp. No? I clearly don't understand top-down control. Ooh, Delta Ramp's going to be up tonight in Detroit. Oh, should we do a second stream, guys? I don't know. I want to. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. If I can escape for a second stream, then we will. Hopefully I didn't give them too far of a push and they push us into one of these air stairs back here. There we go. Okay, pushing back on a 45. And now I am going to shut up for the next couple minutes because I feel like the absolute best part of this add-on has always been Boris's sound pack. So these engine starts are going to be quiet, at least from me. And I'm going to bump the sim sounds up and give you guys the full experience. So here comes the sim sounds, and I'll get back with you after the engine starts.
Delta 2155, descend and maintain 9,000.
Descend and maintain 9,000, Delta 2155.
Okay, that's awesome. Alright, so we got the isolation valve closing. Right pack is coming on. Here comes the left engine. I feel like it's motoring for longer than it used to, which would be realistic. Pretty soon we're going to get to see Phantom 320's engine spool changes. Alright, back to the wing view for the engine start.
Delta 2155, reduce speed to 210 knots, please.
Speed down to 210 for Delta 2155.
Oh, they talked over our last whale howl. Okay. So we got two good starts. So we'll go ahead and get the generators on. The probes, come on.
Delta 2155, turn left heading 070, vectors 40, ILS 34 left.
Any ice, get the
Left heading 070, vectors for ILS 34 left, Delta 2155.
APU come off, check the recall. Recall is good, and we're doing flaps 5. We'll do that for the wing view.
Delta 2155, continue your left turn,
Oh
descend
man,
and
the way
maintain
the flat motor
8,000.
starts and stops.
Cleared ILS 34 left approach.
Very awesome. chorus sounds or something.
Continue left turn, descend, maintain 8,000, clear to ILS, 34 left,
Alright,
that's 2155.
FMC, legs page. We're all good to go. After start checklist, generators are on, the propheats are on, anti-ice is not required, air conditioning panel is set. The recall's been checked, auto brakes are RTO. After start check is complete. The wave bus been received, flaps 5, and then I need to manually remove that. Alright, here we go. I need to call him back. He said Papa, right? Salt Lake Ground, Alaska 1422, information Papa, taxi.
Alaska 1422, thanks for Papa. Squawk mode Charlie, please.
Okay, we're squawking mode C. Alaska 1422. I think we are.
Not yet observed. Make sure you're on altitude.
Okay, stand by. That should be, right? It's not on alt off, it's TARA. Is there something I need to do to make this, try that.
Alaska 1422, thank you. Runway 34 to left, taxi via Charlie Bravo Alpha 1.
Alright, Charlie Bravo Alpha 1 to 34 left, Alaska 1422, thanks. Alright, on instead of auto, got it, gets me every time. Alright chat, here we go, we've been patient, let's get out of here. A little bit of power. Off we go. Okay, flight control check, forward, aft, left, right. Wow, the spoilers still slam up. I don't think that's accurate. We'll go over the changelog in depth as we get into cruise. Okay, so we're going to Charlie Bravo Alpha 1. And I don't think, let's see, terminal charts.
Delta 2155, wind 290 at 12, runway 34 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 34 left, Delta 2155.
I have no idea how to use it. There we go. Airport 10-9 page. Charlie. Okay, so Charlie is
Delta 2155, just curious, did you poke through some clouds coming in?
there we go. Go to Charlie.
Left runway hit the ceiling about 12,000, go Delta 2155.
Roger, yeah, the METAR report scattered at 8,000, that's why I'm asking.
Yep, it's a beautiful approach.
Thank you.
Let's see. How do I zoom in on this here? Charlie. Alright, so Charlie, Bravo, and then Alpha 1. Okay, so the outboard all the way down. Alright, we're on our way here for the taxi checklist. Flaps are 5 on the handle, 5 on the box, 5 on the gauge, green light for the slats, set. Takeoff speeds, 44, 45, 50 is set. Thrust is DT01 23 degrees. Stab trim. Let's see, this is Bravo down here. Stab trim is 5.56 set, and the flight controls are checked. Taxi checklist is complete. Water wiping out the flight controls Navy style, yeah dude. Blackbird, since you're using the Bravo now, what amount of tension would you say is more accurate for the 7.3 pounds of force estimate? Oh, as far as so I don't even think they're comparable, because the real airplane is always going to have a lot more tension than the simulated airplane. So I don't think it's realistic to expect the Bravo to have the same amount of tension as the actual airplane. So that said, I just spin the tension up enough that the weight of your controls doesn't pull the throttles back tight when I have them set up around toga, and that's kind of what I use. And that's mainly just to not wear out the tension setting on the honeycomb. But I don't go into it expecting my sim controls to have the same tension as the real deal. But yeah, the real one is significantly more stiff, and it varies from airplane to airplane. Some of them are very fairly loose, and some of them are tighter, and there's no friction adjustment, so you kind of just get what you get as far as that goes. So yeah, I wouldn't even go down the road of trying to make the honeycomb the same resistance as the real one, because I just don't think you could get there. Okay, Alpha 1 is down here. We got Delta coming in. Is that an Adoptibus? Oh no, it's an A321. Mid. Kind of like watching a new pilot try and manipulate the throttle of a suspect. Yeah, exactly, right.
Thanks for Papa. Runway.
Okay, here we go.
34
Before takeoff checklist,
via
we'll do a config check here and see how the throttle spool up is. Ooh! Ooh, I'm gonna do it again. Very nice, Phantom.
Alaska 1422, runway 34 to left, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, 34 left, Alaska 1422. Alright,
Delta 2155, welcome to Salt Lake, turn
okay,
right on
before
Alpha,
takeoff checklist,
taxi
we
ramp
got
via
3-4
Alpha.
left, full length inside and outside. The flaps are
Right
5
Alpha,
and
taxi ramp via
5
Alpha,
green.
Delta 2155.
Takeoff warning's been checked, auto throttle is armed, and strike switches are continuous. The transponder is on and TARA, and we've called the flight attendants. Before takeoff check is complete, we are cleared to line up and wait. So we get the lights, leaving the taxi light off, and then on the FO side we use the wheel well light as the cleared for takeoff button.
Alaska 1422 on departure, fly heading 280, runway 34 left, clear for takeoff.
Alright, clear for takeoff, 34 left heading 280, Alaska 1422. Okay, so we got 280 on the heading. We'll turn that on at 400 feet. We are all set. Okay. Clear to land, or cleared to take off. Come around the corner, we can spool them up to 40. And they're spooled up. Man, that spool is great. There we go.
Delta 2155, Bravo would
And
have been
Toga.
okay. It's alright, thanks.
And one toga.
Sure, sounds good. I just wanted to comply the best I could.
80 knots, neutralize the stick. Throttle hold, thrust is normal. God, these sounds.
V1.
Rotate. That rotation feels really good.
Salt Lake approach, United
Pause
404,
right here.
spot 3 west with Papa, press taxi 34 left.
Little shut.
United
That's accurate.
404, Salt Lake approach, squawk.
That's really accurate, actually. Because the jet's trim setting doesn't take into account D-rate, so if you have a D-rate, you end up giving it a shot at nose up trim after liftoff. Alright, heading.
Observe, thank you. Runway 34 to left, taxi via Charlie, Bravo, Alpha 1.
We'll go VNAV.
Give way to the Delta A3rd, correction, Airbus 321 coming down on
flies
Alpha.
nice. Alright, flaps 1.
Okay, taxi 34 left via Charlie, Bravo Alpha 1, and we'll give way to the Airbus.
Northwest 714, you can follow the United Charlie Bravo Alpha 1.
Flaps up after takeoff.
Alaska 1422, radar
Flying
contact
through the
failed
flight
to
director
passing.
just a little bit, which is normal. All right, shooting for 230 knots. I'm going to go Command B so I can knock out the after takeoff checklist. We're on a heading.
Alaska 1422, radar contact, say altitude passing.
Alaska 1422, passing 8,000 for 9,000, speed 230 SI.
Alaska 1422, thank you. Climb maintain flight level 230, resume normal speed, and proceed direct Corver.
Alright, 230, normal speed, direct Corver, Alaska 1422. Alright, so we got 230. We'll go direct to Corver first. So we've got legs, Corver. That looks good. Execute it. LNAV to Corver. And then normal speed.
Delta 2155, are you holding for the other traffic?
Execute. Up to 280.
Negative, sir. Would you like me to?
Negative, I'm asking the other traffic to wait for you.
After takeoff, we don't need the engineering eyes.
Roger that. We're taxiing Alpha 18.
Panel is set.
Alpha 18, I see. Okay, roger.
EPU's off. Auto brakes off. Gear doesn't need to go to off, and the flaps are up. No lights. After takeoff check is complete. That handling was fantastic. The flight model there felt really, really good. Let's jump to the wing view and check out the wing flex as we climb.
Northwest 714, negative.
Gonna turn this inside
short
so you
east,
can hear me
waiting
a
for
little
another
better.
traffic.
There we go. Volumes are adjusted. The hand flying there felt really good. Now keep in mind I'm flying, a yoke-equipped airplane with a Thrustmaster Warthog, but the rotation, the feeling of rotation,
United 404, you can taxi to
was spot on.
34 left via Alpha.
A lot of times in 7.3 you'll pull back on the
34
yoke
left
to
via
rotate,
Alpha.
and you'll get no
United
response from the
404.
jet. So then you have to slowly increase the pull, which is exactly what I did
Northwest
here.
714,
I
follow
pulled back on the
United
stick,
via Alpha
nothing
234
happened, so I
left.
slowly started increasing the pull, and I got that nice gentle rotation. Got the click.
Alaska 1422, Salt Lake City Center is offline. Frequency change advisory approved. Have a good flight.
I switched advisory. Thanks for the control, Alaska 1422. We'll see you. All right.
Yeah.
22.8. There we go. So the you pull back on the stick, nothing happens. Slowly increase that back pressure. The airplane gently rotates up to about 8 degrees and then stops, and then you have to increase pressure to pull through that deadband, which generally coincides with the aircraft coming off the ground. And then once you're off the ground, having to give a quick shot of nose up trim, because the trim settings that come through the performance data on the Boeing assume full takeoff power, with the engine slung low underneath the airplane. So if you have less of a nose up pitching moment because you have a lower thrust setting, then that pitch trim setting is not going to be aggressive enough, and so as soon as you come off the ground and get the gear up, you're going to have to give it a long shot of nose up trim to get the airplane in trim, and the iFly modeled that. So I'm pretty impressed with the hand flying on the iFly. Also, the yaw control did not feel as twitchy as the PMDG did, so we'll see how it flies on the approach into Seattle, but that departure felt really, really good. So I don't think that they necessarily changed any of the flying qualities, but it almost shapes up kind of like a Zibo versus PMDG discussion, where the Zibo flight model is better, and the PMDG has the systems depth. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this airplane. Is the PMDG has the systems depth, but the iFly has it definitely has the sounds, and the flight model is pretty good. So all right, we got 18,000 feet, so we can go ahead and turn the wing lights off. These can come off at 18. And altimeters are standard. Climb check, altimeters are standard. Cross check, climb checklist complete. So, yeah, I was pretty impressed actually by the flight dynamics on takeoff there, and also they fixed the VMIN trim line, kind of the hook. Beam in trim's an Airbus term, but the hook used to come up a lot further on departure and was unrealistic, and they fixed that for sure. So definitely some improvements there. Still a little bit low of refresh rate on the screens, but I don't know if that's true to the real world Max or not. Blackbird, weather looks pretty accurate, just fewer holes in the cloud layer right now. Awesome, man. 230 ATC's offline, so we'll go all the way up to 38. I'll demo getting the airplane to climb though. We'll see if the altitude intervene button is modeled accurately. Team Vodka, okay, you're off the couch. Nice. It looks pretty good. Okay, so we've leveled at 230, so now we're going to put 38 in the altitude window. So there's 38, and then we'll just hit the altitude. So it's in VNAV altitude if we got to our cruise altitude. So watch this. We've leveled at VNAV alt because we stopped it with the window. When we get up to 38, it'll be VNAV path. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the altitude intervene button. It'll go to VNAV speed. Now this is interesting. This should go to speed. The speed should not be creeping up like this, so this is a bug. It should not still be in N1 mode. It should be in FMC speed. But anyway, we'll hit altitude intervene. VNAV speed, N1, this is correct. And then as we hit the top of climb at 38,000 feet, it'll go into VNAV path. But the fact that it just stayed in N1 mode and the speed ran away, that's not accurate. When it leveled off at VNAV alt, the thrust FMA should have gone to FMC speed. So still a bug there. The interesting thing being the auto flight behavior is no different between the NG and the Max. So iFly has been in the 737 game long enough that I would kind of expect them to have the auto flight behavior kind of nailed by now. But I never used their NG series, so I don't know if those are accurate or not. So. Patrick Borkman, welcome, dude. When do you extend your landing gear on approach in the 737? Is it different in IMC than in VMC? So all things being equal, if you're stabilized on instrument approach, you try to extend the gear and go flap 15 at 2,000 feet above the airfield, above touchdown zone elevation. So what we do is we look up here at the landing altitude. So today, round that to 500. I would like to go gear down flap 15 at 2,500 feet MSL. And that assumes that you're roughly flap 5, 180. So if you're flap 5, 180 IMC or VMC, it doesn't really matter. 2,000 feet gear down flap 15 will get you stable, usually around 1,500 feet, with plenty of room to spare before 1,000 feet. Now, what you may see the gear coming down earlier VMC because on a visual, ATC is not as handcuffed with the approach clearance they can give you, right? So you can see the runway in sight, and they can clear you for the visual from downwind. And if they give you an early turn from downwind, you may need the drag of the landing gear to get down, because the only good drag device on the 7.3 is the landing gear. The spoilers are kind of worthless. I can't speak to the Max, but on the NG, you can only extend them halfway in flight, and they shake the airplane, and that's about all they do. So the only good drag device you have is the gear. So if you get, we call it slam dunked, but if you turn off of a high downwind in visual conditions, then you'll generally put the landing gear down early in order to use it for drag to get down and establish on the glide slope. In IMC, you're less likely to get that, and so the gear generally comes down right around 2,000 feet above the field. Hope that answered your question. Blackbird, one of your buddies is a captain with United, and I can't remember if it was his SOP or preference, but he said you can just cycle the VNAV button, and it'll initiate the climb to the new altitude. Yeah, so that is true. The altitude intervene button is a company option, so not all airlines have the altitude intervene button, and so if you don't, cycling the VNAV button will get you climbing again. Also, the problem with the altitude intervene button is this button is very, very useful, but it can also present a big threat. What it does is, if you're level and the altitude window is set above, and you hit the altitude intervene button, it'll start the climb. If you're climbing towards a constraint and you hit the altitude intervene button, it'll delete the constraint. So imagine on a departure, you're taking off and you have an altitude constraint that is at or below 8,000 feet. And ATC says, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Well, now you don't need that 8,000 foot or below restriction anymore. And so what you can do is you can just hit the altitude intervene button one time, and it will delete your next altitude constraint. You can see the problem with that, because if you, let's say you hit the button and you don't think it did anything, and so you hit it again, you can be deleting multiple altitude constraints along your route of flight. So to combat that, what we do is we have the legs page up, and you never hit the altitude intervene button without the legs page up, because what that'll do is now you can basically check your work, right? So you can look at your next altitude constraint, which will show up in, as big in big font. Well, here, let's find one right here, right? So 270 and 16,000 above. So if I clicked altitude intervene right now, it would delete that altitude restriction. So so you've got to be careful with this button, but it is very useful. So the last airplane I flew, the Airbus 220, did not have that, so you had to go into the box manually and delete altitude restrictions if you were cleared to climb via, or cleared to climb to an altitude and didn't have to climb via anymore. Whereas in the 7.3, you just click the altitude intervent button until the restrictions that you don't want anymore are gone. So kind of standard. With great power comes great responsibility. You just have to know what the button does and make sure that you're using it appropriately. Blackbird, yeah, might also be because the VNAV button is closer to the captain side. That's true. It could be that. But most all the captains I fly with use the altitude intervene button. It's all company training and what you kind of habit pattern. So Lauren, same for the regular A320. They only go half with the autopilot on. They don't do much. Yeah, no, exactly. So the difference being, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the 320 you still pull the speed brake handle all the way out, and the fly-by-wire just manages on the NG. You pull the speed brake out, and there's an actual the flight detent, and you pull it back, and it hits the flight detent. However, like all things in Boeing, it's prohibited but not inhibited. So if you really wanted to, you could take that speed brake handle, you could haul it all the way to the up detent, and hold it there, and the speed brakes would come all the way up. You obviously would need a pretty good reason to do that, because you could actually cause damage to the wing by doing that. And then if you let go of the handle when it's in the up position, it'll transition back to the flight detent and stay there. But if you really wanted to, you could pull full speed brake, but we obviously don't. Lauren, yeah, absolutely right. You can delete constraints. So like I said, it's have the legs page up and understand what you're doing with that button, because it could be, I don't want to say dangerous, but you can make a mistake with it pretty easily. You just pull pull for altitude in the right. So that's an open climb. Oh, got it. Okay, so if you wanted an open climb without constraints, you would just dial in the altitude and pull the knob. Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, the fly-by-wire won't go more than half if you pull it more than half. Okay. Yeah, every time I've jump sat on a 320 and they put the speed brakes out, they just slam the handle all the way back to the stop. If you need more, disconnect the autopilot. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, we're getting above 35. Cabin diff looks good. We can let the packs roam. Turn the seatbelt sign off. And we'll cozy up in our wing view here. What do you guys like? Do you like the engine view or the... I'm a trailing edge kind of guy myself. So we'll just sit back here, look at the wing flex. And we can go through and kind of take a look at this change log and see all of the different changes that they've made to this airplane. So it's pretty... it's quite a bit, actually, that they've gone through and changed. So so let's go take a look at this here. All right, we got 25 watching. We got 16 likes. So if you guys can hit that like button for me, that really helps. I'm a new channel. It really helps helps get the YouTube algorithm on our side if you hit that like button for me. So I'd really appreciate it if you can do that. Also, subscribe to the channel if you like this content, and then join the Discord as well so that you can see when we're going to stream and join in on the community. So appreciate that. Okay, enough plugging. Let's do the let's get the change log. It's 131 items in this change log. So we'll go through them one by one here, and go from there. Oh, diabetic lad, we need to make sure the toilet works. We'll do that. We'll get halfway through the changelog and then we'll take a pee break, and then we'll come back. Blackbird, I'm a trailing edge fan. You get to see the flaps extend. You have a nice view down. That's what I'm talking about, man. This view right here is why I'm an airline pilot. Because as a kid, I would just look out at everything moving. You know, you can see the slats out here. You get the spoilers moving around. You got the ailerons. On the old airplanes, you had the inboard aileron flapping around. You got these, you know, back when I was a kid, you had these massive triple slotted flaps in 2 sections. You know, and I just remember looking at that going, man, that's a machine that I'd love to operate one day. So very, very cool. Lauren, got to go brief my controllers. All right, well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it, and we'll see you by the second stream. If I can make the time work, then I'll jump over and fly in the event. Maybe do a second stream. All right, changelog for version 1.0. First change: the PFD barber pole was the wrong texture. That's been corrected. Let's see. So if we come up here, okay. So I guess this tiger tail, they just changed the texture on it. Okay, sure. Microsoft Flight Sim mouse interaction style, some switches are not normal, so I'm still experiencing that, but I think that can actually be changed in the iFly manager. Now, what I don't know is if that can be changed without reloading the sim. So I'm going to try that for the next flight I have in this airplane. But as of right now, I'm still experiencing that. Some of the issues with the mouse interaction. VSD is drawing terrain that's out of bounds. Okay, so that would show up on the descent. So we'll take a look at that when we descend. Added an inhibit of the joystick, yoke, and throttles. So that's the V1 change right there. Again, I never had an issue with that, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the hardware I'm using, which is just a Warthog stick and Warthog throttle, although now I've got the Honeycomb Bravo and I still haven't had any issues with it. But that is huge. And then I also saw that they had either a total inhibit or they would inhibit it unless the autopilot was in ARM mode or throttle hold, which I think was a really good way to do that. So, which is the next change. Throttle partial and total inhibit options are added. So That was a huge change, and I know that guys with higher end hardware like V1 will definitely appreciate that. ND and MFD map pages swap redraw is now simulated. Oh, okay. So if we come up here and let's see. So in the NG, there's a switch right here to swap displays. How do you do it in the Max? Is it on the overhead? I don't think it is. I think it's on the center console. I don't know how you swap them. Yeah, because this just moves the thing around. Okay. Well, they added, they allow you to swap that now. Blackbird, son of a former American Airlines captain, has spent ridiculous amounts of time in that seating position on the MD-80. I am shocked you're not deaf, because this is a loud seat on a Super 80 next to that JT8D. Dieback lad, trailing edge is why I originally wanted to be an airline pilot. Life got in the way, unfortunately, but this makes for an acceptable substitute. Man, I gotta say, sometimes being a simulated airline pilot is better than being an airline pilot, because, and I say that in jest because I absolutely love my job, but there are certain things that you can't do. You know, when you're landing an airplane from the cockpit, you don't get to see the wing view, you don't get to see the scenery go by, you don't get to see a lot of the stuff that you get to see of the passenger, which, you know, while I love flying airplanes, it's a great job. Sometimes I just like going for an airplane ride too, you know. So sometimes if I'm on the deadhead, I'll try and swap my seat to this view right here, so I can kind of get my fill of trailing edge wing view action mid rotation. So, Water, we talked about why we became pilots. Yeah, dude. Or what brought you to MSFS? Yeah, yeah, exactly, Blackbird. Let's see. Seventh change here. Generator power cycle causes some dome light and 6-packs to flicker. Okay, cool. So they just added some electrical flickering when you swap the gens. Field diff press light is on too long. I'd have to know the context of that. So the biggest thing with the field diff press is if you have the B system pressurized and the A system is not pressurized, you'll have a field diff press because the pressure, the artificial fuel unit gets inputs from both hydraulic systems, and so what that light is telling you is that there is, well, exactly what it says. There's differential pressure across the artificial fuel unit, meaning one side of your hydraulic system is not pressurized. So I'd have to see what they meant by that. Too long, but it's fixed now. Oxygen test color is invalid. It's gray. Should be yellow. Yep. So that's this guy up here. That is. Oh boy. Overspeeding. Why are we overspeeding? Okay, so I'll pull the throttles back. Oh, see, this is a thing where in the real jet you can just pull the throttles back. Like that, I guess. So you can do that in the actual jet. You can pull the throttles back manually and then let go of them, and the auto throttle will do exactly what it's doing now and wind them back up to where it wants them. That's interesting that it oversped though. Not altogether unrealistic. If there's mountain wave, turbulence, or something like that, the auto throttles can absolutely overspeed the airplane. So but what we'll do the same thing that we would do in real life. We'll just drop our Mach number down. So we're doing 0.8 now. We'll do 0.77. That'll drop the commanded down a little bit. See if that helps at all. Okay, so the thing they're talking about with the oxygen test is this right here. So that's yellow now. Okay, when the start switch is put to ground, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds for the start valve open alert to illuminate, but it comes on instantly in the iFly. Okay, I didn't notice that, but that is true. It's not instantaneous. When you put the start switch to ground, it does take a second before the start valve opens, but I didn't notice that necessarily in the iFly. So, but you know, they added the delay, which is more realistic, so good for them. Let's see, high-speed tape on the PFD, incorrect small dots, the ones are bigger, sure. Stall stick shaker has no animation. Okay, so they fixed the animation. They gave the yokes a stick shaker animation. That's cool. I did notice that. I saw that they were animated. I didn't realize that they weren't in the past, but LNAV overshoot. Okay, so I guess it doesn't overshoot the LNAV course as much. It was fine on departure. We'll see going into Seattle, because there's a pretty big 90-degree turn going into Seattle that we'll take a look at. Okay, here's a big one. Engine spool rate adjusted within 3% of the real engine. This is huge. The engine spool up time now is exactly as I would expect it would be in a MAX. It feels very similar to the NG, if not slightly slower in spool up, which is exactly what I would expect an engine with a 69-inch fan diameter. So the spool up time that's huge. Probably the most noticeable fix that I've found in this update so far. Setting total packs in the EFB may cause some packs values to exceed the maximum value. Okay, so I guess they changed some weight and balance stuff in the tablet. Adjusted passenger station positions for CG accuracy. So if you just do what I did and loaded 178 passengers, it doesn't kick out a wonky CG. 5.56, I've had that trim setting in real life, so I guess I'll buy that. Plugin tool adds the function of specifying the installed package path. It's just admin. Plug in, close, exit, minimize the system tray logic. All right, so more admin. Corrected the flap limit text error on the landing gear panel. Okay, so flap limit speeds are right here. I guess there was an issue with this before, but those are the speeds I would expect. So this is interesting how the auto throttle is basically holding us right up at the barber pole and even accelerating us up into the barber pole. So previously I said that if you were encountering a mountain wave, this might be realistic, but this is not, right? The airplane is almost 20 knots above the bug speed. The auto throttles would be coming back on their own at this point to correct this overspeed condition. Because I bet even if I put 0.76 in here, they won't come back. So if we go 0.76, execute, it's going to get us into the clacker again. Patrick Borkman, where are my thrust lever positioned? You can see right here where they're positioned. Because the hardware throttles, I'll leave them at idle. We'll try that. They were about mid-range, Patrick, but that's a good point. I'll set them at idle and see. Keep it back here. There we go. Okay, so if you look at the ICAS now, these pink lines are my commanded throttle position. So I have the hardware throttles at idle. So we'll see what they do now. I've got them locked in the EFB. So if I go system page, panel style, autopilot, page 2, inhibit throttles when auto throttle engaged, partial inhibit if we're in arm, throttle hold, or RTO, and we're not in any of those, so it shouldn't matter, but I'll try total inhibit and see. So. Okay, so total inhibit is set. We'll see how it does now. Okay. So they corrected the flap limit texture error. Corrected the cabin window visor texture. Okay, so that must be in the back in the cabin here. I guess there's a cabin visor texture. Oh, that's cool. There we go. There's the view that Turk likes. Corrected the cockpit eyebrow window texture error. Okay. So, but there are no eyebrow windows in the MAX, so. Okay, I guess there was a texture issue up here. Okay. Corrected some cockpit wall texture errors. Corrected the door indicator panel light text error. Corrected the fuel panel light text error. Okay, so a lot of text errors, probably like a font or something that guys didn't like. It does look like they added wing flex in the air, Turk. Actually, that's a good point. It does, doesn't it? Did they add? Yeah, look at that. The wing flexes now. Yeah, they sure did. Look at that. There's some wing flex for you. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely flexing. Okay. Optimize the model and texture effect of the MCP digital windows. Optimize the overhead panel texture. So a lot of optimization, which I'll give them this. The performance is pretty good so far. iFly Manager has a closed plugin option. Okay, I'm going to skip the manager stuff. Okay, go around in one. Not sure what that means, but there are 2 go-around powers. So the first time you hit the toggle button, the throttles come up to, I don't know the exact number, but it's not full toggle power. It's like 90%. And then I guess if you hit it again, it goes full power. So I guess they must not have had that simulated, and they do now. FMC execute light. White nav light on the winglets, abnormal in color. Okay. Small visual niggles. Oh, one thing that was interesting was the pilots used to disappear. I guess oh, we're overspeeding again. So let's take these down and see if the pilots are in the cockpit. Oh yeah, okay, so the pilots are sitting in the cockpit now, which is good. They would disappear before. Okay, so yeah, that throttle thing is still, so it's on total inhibit, so my physical throttle position shouldn't matter at all, and the jet is way overspeeding the bug. And it's getting us into the clacker, so. That's frustrating. But we'll write that up to a bug. Door animation problem fixed. Fan animation showing when stopped on the ground conflicts with another product. Okay, so fan animation. Corrected some obvious corners of the sun visor track model. So I guess they made this smoother. Can you put the sun visor on there actually? Sun visor usually sits in this cubby. Can you put a sun visor on this track? Okay. Turk, you're gonna give it a shot and see if you have the thrust issue. Yeah, please do. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. AJ, what do you have for a cost index FO lead foot? Like 5. Yeah, cost index of 5. This is not a me problem. Okay. Corrected a mirror image of the co-pilot. Remove control stick label. Move the clicker of the safety belt to the 4 doors. To the hook position. Okay. Here we go. Optimize the animation of the wing. So code for added wing flex. So they've got wing flex added, so that is a bug they fixed. Adjusted the width of the middle column of the windshield. A lot of people were all upset about the width of this post, and being honest with you, I didn't see a problem with it necessarily, but it does look pretty good now. So whatever they changed was probably a good change. Here, we'll sit on the jump seat for the rest of this. Can you deploy the jump seat? Oh, you can? What? Yes. Look at this. This thing is a medieval torture device. It's pretty cool that they've got it modeled. There we go. All right. Sitting there on the jump seat watching Crash Bandicoot overspeed the airplane here. We'll reach up from the jump seat, pull the throttle to idle, keep it from overspeeding. Light leakage on the luggage rack of the 19 and 20 row seats. Okay. Adjusted the overall size of the sun visor. Fixed data was not clearing after landing. Adjusted EGT cooling rate after engine shutdown. I mean, so they fixed a lot of small stuff that, quite frankly, I didn't notice. But corrected the direction of water droplets on the glass of the 4 overwing exit doors. Fixed the problems of the wings disappearing at certain angles. So I guess when you looked at the wing view, if you zoomed in too close, the wing disappeared because there was an LOD issue. Level change, VNAV climb and descent will deviate significantly from the command speed and then correct back. Supposedly fixed. I think we just saw that VNAV is currently deviating significantly from the command speed, and that's not correcting back. So I would say that one is still open. Speed restriction cannot input altitude data alone. Okay. Wrong trim wheel position. Oh, so these were previously lined up, the white stripes, whereas there used to be a Boeing Tech manual order that these two had to be 90 degrees out. I've heard that was removed and now they can be placed wherever, but 90 degrees out is where you'd like them, because what that allows is that no matter where the trim wheel is in its rotation, one of the pilots can reach the manual trim wheel. So there's actually it's not like a Cessna 172 trim wheel where you grab the physical wheel right here. There's actually a handle. Oh, and it works. Hey. So if your main electric trim switches stop working, you can actually fold out this handle and crank the trim. But you know, if the trim wheel is all the way down here, the idea is maybe you wouldn't be able to reach it, and so the captain would be able to reach that, right? So captain's able to reach this one. If he wasn't, then the FO could definitely reach this one. So the reason the white stripes are set 90 degrees apart is because the white stripe is opposite the handle, and they just want the handle to be in a reachable position for one of the two crew members at all times. Whereas if they were in the same spot, then both trim wheel handles could be forward, and maybe you wouldn't be able to reach them. So they fixed that. Weather button text corrected for Copilot EFIS. Level change speed. So I guess it holds level change speed better now. Gaps in legs on the plan page, oceanic. I don't know what that means. Trim wheel sound was modified. Let's see. AJ, you also have F. You also have an F, and I'm doing a solid 0.778. Okay. Dieback Lad, your concern is if the handle is out and the autopilot starts trimming, that handle goes directly into your shin at high speed. Yeah, it's kind of a rite of passage. Every 737 pilot's been hit by the trim wheel at some point, so it's really not that bad. The in-flight wing flex is juice. I agree. The wing flex is fantastic. Very, very realistic. Way better than the PMDG's jerky wing flex. That's why they call it the Cuisinart. No, it extends that. Well, so if you've got your knee resting against it, it'll smack you in the knee for sure. Yeah, check your guys' airplanes for overspeed. See if your guys are doing that or if it's just mine. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it's most definitely overspeeding for me. I wonder if I open the speed window if that'll do it. Oh, that's why it's still in N1 mode. Why is it in N1 mode? Let me deselect that. It shouldn't be. Okay, but now it's an arm, so I've got to position this manually, I guess. Okay, but see, now this is where I want partial throttle hold, so set that. It shouldn't be in arm mode right now, though. It should be in what should be in FMC speed. Because even if the MCP speed window is open, the MCP is telling the FMS or the FMC what to tell the autopilot to fly. So this should still say up here FMC speed. And now it's not, it's in ARM. Okay, so something's messed up. Basically the auto throttles are inoperative. Let me try this. There we go. Alright, reset the auto throttles, FMC speed. Interesting. That should have automatically transitioned though, once we leveled off at VNAV path. But for some reason we're locked in N1 mode. And I don't know why. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll speed back up to 0.79 then. Turk skill issue. Yeah. Hey, we diagnosed it. Okay, so in this, let's see how it does here in FMC speed mode. Trim wheel sound modified. LNAV S turns occurrence reduced. VNAV path and speed. Okay, so we'll check this on the descent. We'll see how the VNAV path and speed logic is. The 737 MAX has AJ, have you tried turning it off and back on again? Yeah. Computerized jet troubleshooting. The 737 MAX has common VNAV, so it should stay in VNAV path regardless of whether the speed window is open or not. The only time it would... The only time that it would transition to VNAV speed is if you're so far off the path that the jet doesn't think it can achieve the path descent, in which case it will default to VNAV speed, which is effectively flight level change, but it will respect all the bottom crossing restrictions. It will not, however, respect the top of the crossing restriction. So if you have a altitude constraint that is, above 10, below 16, it'll respect the 10,000 feet, but it may bust the 16,000 feet if it's in VNAV speed, because it's basically just pulling the throttle sidle and pitching for the airspeed, and you get what you get. So, we'll check out VNAV on the way down. Hydraulic pump output's been changed. Place bearing is possible in the FMS. That's cool. You don't really do it much in the US, but VNAV speed when taking flaps. Okay, so we'll take a look at this. We don't use it at my company, but when you're descending, say at 240 knots, and you put flaps 1 out, the speed bug should jump down to the flap 1 maneuver speed, which it was not doing previously. So we'll take a look at that and see if it is doing it now. The approach button is not deselectable if only Vorlock is armed. Okay, so it was putting you in approach jail and Vorlock vice approach. Okay, so that's fixed. Okay, that's about halfway through the changelog, so we'll jump up for a quick lab break. We'll go the one in the back since we're pretty far back here anyway. The lid opens and closes. Oh, look at that. It automatically closes the lid when you flush, which is absolutely something. If you don't do that in an airline lavatory, then you are a monster. Absolutely shut this lid before you hit the flush button. In the Navy, we had a saying, never flush a toilet you can't run away from, because they would back up and explode. What's this button? Is that the I've fallen and I can't get up button? That's cool. Oh. Level 7, at cruise, yours switch from N1 to FMC speed. Okay, interesting. I wonder, maybe I have a binding issue. I'll have to check maybe my honeycomb, some of the buttons, maybe something's set to N1 hold or something. So, okay, I won't hold that against the jet. I'll maybe watch the replay and see. Okay, here's the ultimate test. You ready for this? So our potable water is just below full. See where I'm going with this? Let's flush the toilet 20 times and see if the potable water changes. If this is modeled, I will buy somebody an iFly. Okay, that's 10. No, still in the same spot. Man, if that bumped down a little bit. Is it not? Is potable water different than wastewater? Is that just for the coffee pot? Where's the coffee pot? Let's go work the coffee pot. Is that back here? Yeah, there's a coffee pot. How do I use potable? Actually, the sink would be potable water, right? I always assumed that it was potable water that got flushed down the toilet. Yeah, I don't know. V1, that's a good question. Does the potable water just do the sink, or does it also, like, I know after it goes through the toilet it's gray water and it gets sucked into the vacuum system, but I had always assumed that the potable water system is what fed the toilet flushing. All right, that's our systems question. V1, you go find out for the A320 and I'll find out for the 7.3. Man, next update, I want the sink to work and I want it to draw from the potable water on the flight attendant panel. Inch our way back up here. Grab our iPad charger out of the overhead. Then we'll go sit back down. How do I close that? No. There we go. How much time we got here? We got top of descent is 130 miles away. Okay, we got time to breeze through the rest of this changelog here. I know it's definitely blue on the. It's definitely not blue on the 7.3. I know what you're talking about, diabetic lad, and I think that was on, like when I was a kid. Again, on like a 767 or something. I remember the blue juice, but on the 7.3, it's white water, clear water that's getting flushed. But you can flush your toilets with no potable water, so I'm assuming it's different. I don't know. No. Just like potable water goes down with coffee brews? No. Does it really? That's next level detail. Alright. Let's see. Got half a changelog to go through here. So manual control input results in the autopilot disconnect and the FMA mode blanking. Okay, so no modes have been found. I mean, that's true though. If you slam the yoke around, it'll put you in control wheel steering. Small inaccuracies on route 1 and 2 flight number. Progress page corrections. So the MAX has more progress pages. I think they have 5. Yeah, they have 5 progress pages instead of 4 on the NG. But progress page 2 should have your SAT, so that's how you know if you can turn anti-ice off. That looks like the progress page I'd be expecting. There's nav status, nav data, nav options page. Yeah, that all looks good. Init ref and perf page corrections, FMC ident page. The FMS overall seems pretty good. VSD corrections. Flight and voice recorder test is corrected. That's what we saw at the beginning of the flight. Engine and cargo fire test, self-test delay added. Yeah, so it's just the way that you interact with the switches was changed a little bit. Nose wheel turn angle on the rudder pedals was adjusted. Okay, so it feels pretty good taxiing. So I think the taxi is pretty good. Flaps too much drag reduced. Okay, so they reduced the flap drag. That should be interesting. On arrival, we'll take a look at that. Extending flaps should decrease the hide quantity sensed on system B. Fix fuel pumps and the flaps being inaudible for some. The flap noise is fantastic, so that was a really good fix. Rebalance exterior fuel and hydraulic pumps. Okay. Let's see. Improve the ground roll sounds. Those were good. Ooh, added slat drag, audible in the cabin mostly. We'll have to do that. So let's go flap 1 from here, and we'll listen for the slat drag. Minor sound fixes. Gross weight inhibit option not working. Updated nose wheel steering logic. Again, taxi felt great. Cabin entrance lights were on when the cabin is cold. So that's not really a bug because there's a ground service bus. Here, we'll take a little tour here. So the ground service bus, right here, this button. So if you hold this button when you power down the cockpit, it will keep power to the ground service bus, which allows the cabin to be powered and the battery chargers by external power. So typically when you get on the airplane, the entire airplane's not cold and dark. The back, you know, so like this, the cabin is all lit up and the cockpit is dark. So, you know, if the complaint was that the cabin was lit but the cockpit was dark, then it was just basically modeling being on the ground service bus. So, not necessarily a bug. HUD system is not simulated / not working correctly. Fair enough. I guess they fixed that. Level 7, no overspeed here, but you're at 280. No, we figured out what it was, level 7. The auto throttle system was stuck in N1 mode for some reason. So I had to cycle the auto throttles to get it into FMC speed, but now it's in FMC speed and it looks like it's holding the speed correctly. So I'm not sure how it got stuck in N1 mode, but I'm going to write that up to user error and not the iFly. Diabetic Lad, according to the 737 technical site, great site by the way, Chris Brady's a super smart guy, the potable water tank serves the sink, but the toilets have chemical solution, therefore a separate tank. Awesome. Sweet. Drop the link in Discord. Great. Potable tank is 60 gallons, and with people flushing, that would vanish pretty quick. That's true, although it doesn't really use much per flush, but yeah, that's interesting. Good to know, dude. Thanks for looking that up. All right, so they simulated the HUD system. Engine out cruise page, inaccurate max altitude. Okay, we'll check that out in a EP sim. VR perspective was changed. Park and brake, simple and realistic modes were adjusted. I'm using realistic mode, and it seemed fine. Runway turn-off lights don't illuminate the ground. Fixed. Fix info page of runways of arrival and departure airports cannot be selected. Okay. Changing the thrust limit on the N1 page changes the thrust lever position. Okay. FOEFB could not load the airport map. Okay, so they fixed that, which I've been using exclusively the FO side. That's been fine. Adjusted DU colors according to the supplied values. Yeah, they look pretty good. Emergency exit lighting has been added to the cabin. Let's see. Reduce the map and chart light and initial intensity. Added bode rotor motoring LVARs, so I guess that's now variable. Departure arrival freeze has been resolved. Okay. Autopilot speed predictions selection on descent fixed. The red line doesn't disappear from the EGT gauge after engine start. Well, it's gone here, so that's good. Bode rotor motoring extended by 30%. Okay, so it is longer. Motor's longer. EGT adjusted the ambient temp when cold. Magenta line fixes. Upper limit of the glide slope warning has been raised from 300 feet to 1,000. Okay, so if you're 1,000, you have to be 1,000 feet high, I guess, before you get the glide slope warning. ILS freak operating, so rollout localizer logic is improved. Okay, we don't have rollout guidance, so I'm not familiar with that. Rollout's improved. QNH added to the descent forecast page. Okay, that's huge. So actually, that's something we have to look at. So if we go to the VNAV page, a lot of people say that the 737 VNAV sucks, and most of them don't fill out the forecast page. So we'll request the winds. Hopefully we get them. I don't know if we will or not. But if you're going to use the anti-ice, you have to tell the airplane that you're going to use it. So the weather actually looks pretty good, so I don't think that we're going to be using anti-ice on the way down here. So invalid forecast uplink. So the winds are crucial because the jet uses the winds to determine the descent point. If you don't have winds, if they're blank like this, then VNAV will miss every restriction because it just can't. You know, a 50 knot tailwind will absolutely decimate your descent plan. So you absolutely want to make sure that these winds are populated. If you're descending with the turbine anti-ice or thermal anti-ice on, you want the altitude you're going to turn it off and the altitude you're going to turn it, on and off right here. So for example, 250/5000 would go in there. And then this is where you'd put your ISO-DEV. So it was 9, and then the QNH in Seattle. What's the weather looking like in Seattle? We'll put it in the descent, but you'll put the QNH in there, and that just helps make sure that the airplane sets the right path through transition altitude. That's cool. Via intersections on the route page not being calculated. Okay. Pilots randomly vanished. That was an LOD thing. White LEDs on the rear of the aircraft missing. Throttle partial and total inhibit options. That was already in the previous changelog. Okay, so there's a typo in their changelog because points number 110 through 116 we've already talked about. CVR button wrong colors. Auto trim option cannot be disabled. That's fixed. And that is true because I trimmed it manually today. Minimum maneuver speed displayed too soon on the speed tape during takeoff. All right, that's what we talked about. So the min maneuver speed, this hook right here, was coming up too far on takeoff. That's been fixed. Incorrect timing for N1 activation on takeoff with VNAV. Okay, so this may have something to do with how we got stuck in N1 mode. Because my company doesn't take off with VNAV, so we push VNAV at 1,000 feet to begin the acceleration. So I wonder if this N1 activation on takeoff with VNAV introduced a bug. Versus a lot of companies take off with VNAV on. So LNAV struggling to redraw segments. Okay, so a lot of LNAV VNAV fixes. Stab trim position on the outside model not matching the trim indicator. Mach number in the speed window should not show the leading 0, so basically this should just 0.79. It was showing 0.79 previously. Does this show? Yeah, alright, so the FMA is correct. Changing runways does not delete the takeoff speeds, which it should. That's been fixed. Sound of the DU brightness knob has been removed. VNAV page target speed should be set in the background under speed intervention. OAT disagree. Auto throttle does not engage if the unaspirated tap probe option is selected airborne. EFB V-speed, not a number issue resolved, and multiple fixed items that did not make the changelog. Awesome. So overall, a very comprehensive update from iFly, and I've got to say, I'm digging it. The feel of the airplane is improved. The flight dynamics on takeoff were pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, I still don't think it's quite PMDG level, but it's definitely a contender. And it's got some features that PMDG doesn't. Obviously, the cabin, and then the wing flex in flight is pretty awesome. The visual modeling is really good, and the sounds are next level. And a lot of these fixes so far during the flight, as far as the departure and the cruise go, I have no problems with how the automation is working. So we'll see how it does on the descent. I'll reserve the right to criticize the autopilot on the descent, but so far it looks like old iFly did a pretty good job. So okay, we got top of descent coming up here, so we got to do some setup here. So we will jump into the legs page and we'll check all the constraints. So RADI 270 above 16, that is correct. That's the first fix. 15 and below, and Auburn 250 at 12, and that'll put us on downwind. That is all correct. And then Civic should be above 6. That looks good. Then we'll put 110.75 in. So we need to change this to ILS, and then put 110.75. We'll do that over here on the captain's side as well. And we'll leave that in the standby. That's going to be 164 on the final approach course. We need to put in our mins, which are going to be 615 feet. So this is a pet peeve of mine. The barrel knob on the 737 is not a scroll wheel. It's a switch, and you hold it to the right. So I should be able to just hold the right mouse button and have this scroll up. Like the knob animation should rotate about 30 degrees to the right and just stay there as the barrel knob or the barrel value clicks up here. And it moves faster than you can move the scroll wheel. So there's 615. That's synced on both sides. We'll do a flap 40 because flap 40 is used a lot more on the MAX than it is on the NG because a lot of the lateral control issues on the MAX have been fixed with the fly-by-wire spoilers. We'll use flap auto brake 3. And we're all set. So the mnemonic that we use, or that I use, is build it, bug it, break it, brief it. So we build it twice in the 7.3. You build it in the FMS, which we checked all the points, and then you build it with raw data, with the course and the frequency. So we built it twice. We bugged 2 things. We bugged our mins and we bugged our approach speed. We do 1 set of brakes, and we do 1 approach brief. So that's all squared away. So we're set to go into Seattle, and we got 18 miles before our top of descent. So we'll start it down. Oh, the other thing you want to do in the 7.3 is you always want to make sure your descent speed is equal to or greater than your cruise speed. So in this case 0.79. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 0.785. Okay, and put that in the cruise speed, and then the descent speed can stay 0.79. It auto carried it forward, but we're going to go 0.79 and then transition to 300. And the reason for this is that the airplane will not transition to the descent speed until it hits the top of descent. So if you're doing 0.79 in cruise and your descent speed is 0.78, it'll wait till it hits the top of descent, then slow to 0.78, and then begin a descent. And in the process, it'll get a couple thousand feet high. By doing this, making sure the descent is equal to or faster than the cruise speed, as soon as the airplane hits that top of descent, it'll pitch over and grab the path. That said, we're going to start it down early. So we're going to reset the MCP altitude to 12,000 at Auburn. No ATC, so we'll assume that they gave us descend via. There's 12,000. And then you could hit the altitude intervene button, but I just like to use descend now execute. Okay, so you see when it starts descent, the throttles go after the new speed, which is 0.79, and then it intercepts the path. Since we started down early, it's going to go to 1,000 feet per minute until it picks up the path, and then it will follow the path down, which should be an idle power descent. All right, back to the chat. Let's see. Team Vodka, I'll leave this on, but you got to fly a Duke to Detroit. Nice, flying the Duke. I guess the event's actually going on. I didn't think about the time zones. Blackbird controls. People have unrealistic expectations of automation. True. You know, a lot of people think that you just sit up here as an airline pilot and read crossword puzzles, but you're babysitting the automation. You're very much making sure that the automation is doing what it's supposed to do at all times, and it doesn't always, right? I haven't had a flight yet where I haven't intervened in the automation. So, okay, we're starting down. The speed's starting to creep up a little bit to go get the path. Let's see. I'm going to give it a second. There it goes. We're back on path. Throttles are armed. Looking good. That's not altogether unrealistic. I've definitely seen the airplane do that, where it'll try and get you up in the barber pole on descent. So that's actually a pretty good implementation of the VNAV path. This tablet is impossible to type on. Yeah, dude, I kind of hate the tablet, if I'm being honest. AJ, cockpit quick look is still broken. I don't know what that is. Turk in the US, I just took off and keep getting auto fail air conditioning warning. It keeps going away and coming back. Packs are on, it's not pressurizing. Try, oh, your window was open. Checklist, my man. I was going to say, if you're getting auto fail, you can try the alternate system. Dive into the QRH procedure, but or just close your window. Sep, wow, great point. Thanks for that. When should you use flap 40 in the MAX? Again, I'm not a MAX pilot in the real world. I'm an NG pilot. And we typically use flap 30 in the NG. I have heard in the MAX, flap 40 is used basically as the standard flap setting more often, because you do have a lower approach speed, but the drawbacks to flap 40 in the NG are you burn a little bit more gas, and your aileron control gets a little more sensitive in flap 40, and so you can get kind of a roll oscillation going in flap 40. I've heard in the MAX, since it has fly-by-wire spoilers, that's not the case, and it handles better in flap 40. It's still a lot of drag though, so it's harder to get a smooth landing in flap 40 than it is flap 30, or especially 15. Flap 15 in the real jet is a cheat code to get a smooth landing. It's very, very easy to get a flap 15 landing to roll on in real life. Flap 30 is fine. Flap 40 takes some work to get a nice smooth one, because if you don't judge the flare perfectly the first time, you just don't have the airspeed or the energy to kind of work it down to the pavement. So, and I would assume the same is true of the MAX. Okay, so descending down here, we're looking good on the path. We selected our approach speed was going to be 138, and then we do need to check the weather in Seattle, because the approach speed, you have to add half the headwind and all the gust to your approach speed. That's your additive. So we'll grab the ATIS in Seattle here. And I'm just going to cheat and get the real world ATIS because the tablet doesn't give it to me. Digital ATIS for Seattle is calling. Winds are 030 at 5 knots, so we can just use a 5 knot additive, so we don't have to add any crazy numbers. That is how you get. That's how you get these crazy ref speeds in the 7.3, is that if you add half the headwind and all the gust, so if you have a 10 knot wind with a 10 knot gust, so if it's 10 gust 20, you add half the headwind, which is 5 knots, all the gust, which is 10, so now you're coming down final at VREF plus 15. And so now, if you have 150 knot VREF, which is fairly reasonable, but now you have to add 15 knots to that. Now you're talking 165. So the reputation that the 7.3 gets for just absurd VREF speeds is because of the wind additive. Turk, 100%. You can't close it in the air, so I Alt F4'd my flight. I mean, that would be self-correcting in real life. I feel like it'd be a lot harder to take off with the window open in the real world than it would be in the sim. Hey, look at that. That's a nice view of Rainier. Jump over to the sightseeing seat. Look at that. Terrain LOD's a little mid, but it's a pretty cool shot of Rainier. Okay, part of the landing checklist here, we need to get G's up and flight recorder up, which both of them are running. So I've got no excuses if we slam this in. It should be recorded in full 4K. So far the VNAV's doing a pretty good job. Slightly below the path, speed's holding good. My experience with the 737 overall is that the VNAV system is pretty good. A lot of people like to complain about it, but most of the people who I've heard complain about it don't necessarily understand how it works, or they don't fill out this forecast page, which, now granted, mine's blank, but if you fill out the winds page correctly, fill out the ICD, fill out the QNH, and tell the airplane when it's going to be using anti-ice, it typically does a pretty good job. And then also, you adhere to that speed gauge and make sure that your descent speed is always at or faster than your cruise speed. It does a really nice job. Hamish, awesome stream, buddy. We need more Boeing drivers on here. Dude, totally agree, man. The Boeing is underrated. I like it. It's in my opinion, the NG and even the MAX is kind of the ultimate evolution of a 1960s design, right? I mean, you know, this is kind of the last. This is the last airplane flying that was designed in the 60s. And so it's kind of cool to see, you know, that with some modifications, it's still viable in today's modern airline system. Blackbird, the airplane can only act on the information you feed it. 100%, man. It's a computer, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so 270 knots, 12,000, or sorry, 16 or above at RADI, which is good. We'll turn the VSD on, actually. I do love the VSD in the real world. Alright. Should probably go see what the CTAF frequency is in Seattle. $19.9. There we go. All right, let's see. Seatbelt signs come on. Custom goodbye. Do the recall check. We'll knock out a quick descent check. Let's see. The altimeters. Magic Bear ref key. 3011. That's cross check. Minimums for Barrow 615, that's also cross-check. Landing data is flap 40, ref 138. The approach brief is complete, auto brakes are 3, seatbelt signs are on, pressurization panel is set, the cabin's descending, and the recall's been checked. Descent check is complete. Then we'll put 3011 in the VNAV page. Why'd that turn into a hand? There. Hey, look at that. That actually changed our path a fair amount. Wow, changed it a lot actually. Turk, they definitely thickened the flight directors 100%, man. That was one of my complaints as well, and I think that this PFD looks better now. Like this looks like what I would expect a 737 MAX PFD to look like, and those flight director bars are the correct thickness for what I would imagine, having not seen one. Jameson, I just landed on my first attempt with version 1 of the MAX. Bounced it hard, stood on the brakes, and surely melted them while blowing up the tires. Good thing I'm a simmer only. Well, we'll see how mine goes. I'm not going to throw any shade till I get it on deck here, so. But we'll see. Kyle Lewis just hopping in. Hey, welcome, man. How's the update? Overall, pretty good. I'm cautiously optimistic. There's still some small things. We still have a 31-volt battery. And you know, some other small systems things, but overall, I think now it is a much better release than when it originally came out. So, at this point, while I don't think that the systems modeling is quite at the same point as PMDG, it is a competent simulation of a 737. So, you know, at this point, if somebody wanted to pick up a 7.3 and they had a preference for the MAX, I would say that this would be a good alternative to pick up, you know, outside the PMDG. And some things it does better. I mean, look at the wing flex right there. One more thing to do before I forget is we're going to go to the legs page. Now, I will say this, my FMS has started lagging throughout the flight, and I don't know why that is, but we're going to put 1.6 right in as a fix. We're going to draw a 15-mile ring and a 10-mile ring. And these are just for kind of situational awareness for energy management purposes. And then the other thing that I like to do, and this was not previously modeled, so I don't know if they changed it, we'll see, is go 1.6 right, go to the VNAV page, and put 1.6 right in the waypoint. Okay, and it still won't let you do that. This is a really useful tool when you're on a downwind here. So, for example, Seattle tends to slam dunk you off of this downwind. And if you have the runway, it'll give you the vertical bearing and the flight path angle required to get to the runway. So if ATC tries to turn you on a base and this flight path angle to get to the runway is 8 degrees, unable. You just tell ATC that you're unable. And it kind of saves you the trouble of, you know, putting the airplane in a tough position. 3 degrees, you'd have no problem making it. 4 or 5 degrees, no problem. 6 degrees, throw the gear and you'll be able to make it. 7 degrees is, if you don't have a tailwind, you can make 7 degrees with flap 10, speed brake, and gear down, but it's going to be sporty. So it works on the PMDG, and I've done a demo of, I may do a tutorial off stream of high energy approach setup in the 7.3, and this is key to at least my technique doing it. But although now that Auburn's gone, let's see if it'll let us do it now. It should let you overwrite whatever's in there. Yeah, so it won't let you do it. That's fine. Okay. At this point, ATC comes up and says descend and maintain 5,000. So we'll go 5,000, level change at 250. And we'll get all the lights on. Okay, passing through 10. Swap the ILS needles up. It didn't overshoot that turn. LNAV looks like it's doing better work. So that's pretty good. It looks like it's actually doing a pretty accurate descent. Usually descending, actually I guess I'm at 240 normally in the actual jet. That's about where I'd expect to see the green arc. So the descent looks like it's pretty well modeled so far as the drag model. Blackbird, all right, I installed the Gboard on the tablet, so now I can talk instead of typing on this a lot better. So I've covered it before on stream, but in case I haven't, so this 15 mile arc, we want to be, when we cross it, we want to be 210 knots flap 1 at a maximum. If you're not, start doing something different. Throw the speed brakes out, something. But 210 flap 1 at 15 miles is where you want to be. The 10 mile ring, this inner one, 180 knots flap 5. And if you're not there, start doing something different. Speed brakes, flap 10 if you can, if you're slow enough, or potentially throw in the gear early if you're pretty high. And then 2,000 feet above the field, which in our case today will be 500 feet, so 2,500 feet is where we want to go gear down flap 15. Blackbird, yeah, gear down, flap 15, open speed window. I'd give yourself a 10 knot buffer. Set 200, level change, throttle idle. That's absolutely the highest drag config of the jet. So, yeah, this is pretty accurate so far as the drag model. It may even be just a little bit, if I'm really nitpicking, it might be just a touch too draggy, but man, I'm really being hard on it. This drag model is pretty good. And again, there may be a difference between the NG and the MAX that I'm not aware of, so take my comments there with a grain of salt. Man, we hit the time of day perfect. Look at that. You got the city of Seattle. I do think Seattle is one of the most beautiful cities in the country to fly into. With Puget Sound, you've normally got some low clouds. The city's right there on final approach. I'm quite a fan. Especially the Hawks arrival that comes in over Puget Sound, puts you on the left downwind. Okay, so we'll start the turn in here. So we'll go heading select. That should have stayed in, that should have been in LNAV, but that's fine. We'll say 260 on the heading. And we'll shoot a line. We're at 5,000 feet, so we'll shoot a line off of Agony. We'll go Agony up to the top. 164 is our inbound course. Execute. Line off of Agony. And now you can see right here we're on that 15 nautical mile line. We're going to be inside it when we get a vector here, so we're going to slow to 210. All right. And here comes flap 1. Flap sounds are awesome. they'll just give us the clearance that we got last time. So they're going to turn us to CLAC. So we'll put CLAC in here. Again, 164 on the inbound course. And it'll be about, what, a 200. So it'd be Alaska 1422, left turn heading 200, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4 until established on the localizer, cleared for the ILS runway 16 right approach. Alright, so we'll go level change down to 4200, and we'll engage a lateral mode, so we'll go Vorlok. We've got a altitude constraint there that meets what the controller gave us. We can put this down to Finca at 1900. We'll go VNAV and open the speed window. It's going to intercept the vertical path, which it is. There's Vorlok. And now slow to 180 knots. And get flap 5 out as we slow. Here comes flap 5. Okay, so this is where it was a little too draggy earlier. So once we intercept the glide slope, or in this case the vertical path at CLAC, the jet should accelerate a little bit from 180. Maybe do 185 as we're coming downhill. How's that? If you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe for that view right there. Okay, yeah, so the speed's creeping up just a little bit from 180. CTAF's just saying we're on it. We're on CTAF. What, you want to call 15 miles out?
Traffic, November,
there we go.
Julia, taking off runway 16 left on Mike.
Seattle traffic, Alaska 1422 is 10 out on the ILS 16 right, Seattle. Alright, once we're inside of Bugny, we'll select approach. Okay, so we're inside of Bugny. The final approach fix is next. Approach mode, Vorlok glide slope, 2000 is set for the mist, and heading to course. There we go. Heading to course is set.
25.
LNAV is armed for the go around. We are squared away. 2,500 feet. We'll dirty up. Hamish, it's pretty good, man. It's. I was asked Turk. I was not a fan when it came out in pre-release, but it's pretty good now. Alright, there's 2,500 feet. Gear down. Flap 15. Match the speed. Bug 15. Flap 25. Okay, we can set ref, which is 138 plus 5, so that'd be 143. Alright, here comes flap 30. And flap 40 and landing check. Okay, so arm the speed brakes. Guess I can do it on my Bravo here, huh? Arm that. Alright, landing checklist. Landing gear is down. Flaps are 40-40 green. Start switches are continuous. Speed brakes are armed. We've cleared ourselves to land. Alright. And here comes 1,000 feet, which is this white bar right here on the altitude tape. So 1,000 feet. We're stable. We're clear to land. The missed approach altitude is set.
1,000.
Let's set our throttles, match our throttles here, and I forgot to bind an autopilot disconnect, so we'll do that. And I forgot to bind the other throttle disconnect as well. Okay, here we go. Look at this view. Slightly high. It's flap 40, so we're not gonna close the throttles out right away when we flare. We're gonna bring them back nice and slow because flap 40 is a lot of drag. This hand fly is pretty stable. And it's got just a little bit of roll inertia, which is accurate. Feels pretty good.
Minimums.
All right, I'm outside. Glide slopes.
Traffic, Turkish 203, heavy's on.
Not accurate.
Glide
Ducking down a little bit.
Glide slope.
We're fine.
50, 40, 30, 20,
Easy flare.
10.
Idle. Feel for it. 168. 2 in reverse. Nose slammed down a little bit. Flared a little high. We got 2 in reverse. The speed brakes did not go, so there they go. That's a bug. Alright, 80 knots. Manual brakes. Roll it to Papa. Alright, not sure why the speed brakes didn't automatically pop up. Even if they didn't, they should have gone when the throttles went into reverse. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seattle. Alright, after landing when able. The lights, that comes down, these two come up. Light directors come off. Auto brake comes disarmed. Speed brakes in, flaps are up. And run the trim before the flaps come up, otherwise they slow down. And get the transponder, but we're on VATSIM, so we'll leave it on. And we'll stop here before we cross the center, and I'll make a announcement. Here we go. Still flared a little high, but not bad for the first time. The other pro tip is swap these back over to VOR and get the rising runway and junk off the PFD, as well as reset your baro mins, and then start the clock for engine cooldown. Seattle traffic, Alaska 1422 is crossing 16 center. Seattle traffic. Yeah, that engine spool up is significantly better. That's better than the PMDG, actually, in that it lags. It goes pretty slow up to 30 and then accelerates as it gets to 40, and then once you're up at 40, it's fairly instantaneous.
Seattle traffic, short final for Turkish 203.
Seattle traffic, Alaska 1422 is crossing 16 left. The wing flex on the ground, that characteristic 737 bounce. It's pretty cool. Alright, we'll get the APU going. You would turn your lights on crossing a runway, but I can't hit the light switch to save my life in this thing. And Alaska parks up at the north gate, so we'll taxi up there. Oh no! I forgot to start the recorder again. Chat, how'd you let me forget that? First streamer in the right seat. Maybe so. Did V1 stream for the right seat before he upgraded? Oh boy, I got 3 dots. I'm disconnecting. Phantom 320 is a genius for fixing it. Absolutely right. Yeah, the fact that he took what was supposedly a sim limitation and fixed it. Pretty impressive. Diabetic Lake streamer, right? We need a custom emoji or something for me forgetting to start the recorder. Every time. Okay, well, we got 2 minutes on the engine cooldown, so we can go ahead and shut down the right. And we'll turn off the left pack, which will get the bleeds going. That hide light came up a little faster than I would have expected, but all right, we'll do a full shutdown then, since I can't seem to start the flight recorder. This is why I need X-Plane with a native replay in it. One less thing to worry about. Okay, we'll turn in here to the north gates. Someone needs to do a good Seattle scenery, because this is kind of mid. Okay, APU's up, so we'll put it on the bus. Start the clock for APU, 2 minutes of APU on time before putting the bleed air on. That's that. Seattle at sunset. Well, guys, what do you think? I think that the version 1.0 update to the iFly has done it justice. I think that it's very much a usable add-on now, and it's a, you know, while I think it has a different market segment than the PMDG. I don't know that I would use this to train for a type rating too, whereas I did use the PMDG to train for my type rating. For an entertainment product, I think that iFly's got a pretty good piece of software here. So that's my take. I think the update has been good, but let me know what you guys think. Take it out, take it for a spin. Those of you who have it, if you don't have it, and you're looking for a 737 MAX in the sim to use on VATSIM, go ahead and pick it up, and let me know what you think of it. So as we get pointed into the gate here. And Boris's sound pack is just absolutely unreal. Jameson, absolutely, man. Yep. They want to fly, but not fly it for real. That's exactly it, dude. I think that with this update, it's very much there. So, all right, there we go. We're stopped. Parking brake is verified on. We'll let them up, and we'll swap them. Verify they're swapped. Chop them, and let them in. Alright, then we'll do the shutdown flow, which is fuel pumps come off, electric hide pumps come off, anti-ice fit was on, probe heats, window heats, APU bleed. Has it been 2 minutes? Yep, we've got our 2 minutes, so the APU bleed can come on, open the isolation valve, get both packs online. And flight directors are off, and we can turn the transponder off. Alright, so the shutdown checklist. The parking brake is set, the fuel pump switches, we've got one on, seatbelt signs are off, window heat is off, probe heat's off, anti-ice is off, electric hide pumps are off, air conditioning panel is set, anti-collision light is off, engine start levers are cut off, and the transponder is on standby, so the shutdown check is complete. Awesome, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining. Hamish, I think I'm sold. Might need the PMDG to compare to. Yeah, man. The PMDG, the 900ER, I think is probably the best value because a lot of people fly it, and it's not $80. The 700 and the 800 are both $80 add-ons. The 900ER I think is $50, and it gets you a lot of airplane. In a lot of ways, it's my favorite of the PMDGs. Or the 600 is $35. and makes a good classic 737. So Blackbird, I think I'm done for the night, man. I don't think that one was a little longer than I expected, so I don't know if I can sell a second stream. But thanks for joining me today. I'll go ahead and play the exit music as I run the secure checklist, and yeah, I think we're good. Turk, great stream as usual. I'm going to go try my own flight now. See ya. Thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining me on this. Thanks for looking at the iFly with the update. We'll hope to see you on the next one. So next couple of days, we'll knock out another stream. Appreciate you spending your evening with me. Take care. See you later.